Another example of one of the harder percentage questions, and once again I'm just going to go through one example and quite slowly so you can hopefully understand the basic concept of what's going on. A woman buys a car for an amount of money and sells it for a 15% loss a month later. She gets £5,000 for the car. How much did she pay for the car? Temptation once again would be to work out 15% of £5,000 and take it off, and whatever that figure gave, that would be what many people would suspect she paid for the car in the first place. Or, sorry, let's do it the other way around. Because she's making a loss, she gets 5,000, so she must have paid more than 5,000 in the first place. So what they do is work out 15% of 5,000 and add it on. So it would be 6,000 and odd pounds. So that's how much she would have paid for in the first place. No, you're misunderstanding what the question is about. Just watch this. The person, this woman, is paying a certain amount of money. Okay. Now, what is happening? She's making a loss. So take away a 15% loss, and what is left will be the £5,000 that she actually receives. So the 15% is 15% of what she paid for it in the first place, not 15% of £500, which is what she receives at the end of the transaction. So 15% loss of this amount of money. So that's the structure of the question. So what you've got to do is work out how much she's paid for it in the first place. Okay, and that's the thing we're going to work out. Well, going back to a previous video, if you want to work out very quickly in one step what a 15% loss or a 15% decrease will be for an amount of money, for example, you just take that amount of money, and to do a 15% decrease or loss, you simply multiply it by, and if you remember, it's not going to be 1.15 because that would be a 15% increase. A 15% loss or a 15% decrease would be times by 0.85. So times by 0.85 and it will lead to an answer of £500. So an amount of money multiplied by 0.85, that's a 15% loss, gives you £500. So if you want to go backwards and figure out what the amount of money was that you paid for it in the first place, you must take the £500 and do the reverse process, which is not times by 0.85, it's divide by 0.85. So, here we go. Therefore, the woman must have paid, in this particular example, you start with £500 and you divide by 0.85. So if I reach for a calculator, £500, you divide by 0.85 and you get an answer to the nearest penny, and it will be to the nearest penny, 588.235 it says, so 24 to the nearest penny. And that's the amount of money that the woman must have paid for it in the first place. Okay, so she pays that for it. Okay, if I worked out now 588.24, and if I work out what 15% of that is, that's £88.24, 88.24, take that off, you end up with what she ended up receiving from the person who bought the car. And there you go. So that there, once again, as I mentioned in the previous video, is not necessarily going to get you any marks from the examiner, but it's certainly a setup of the structure of the question which will help you understand what's going on. That is the actual calculation that the examiner would give you marks for. It's not the only way of working this out. Many other people would work it out in a different way, but it's best if you just adopt one single method on these things and use the same method over and over again. Okay, in the next video I'm going to give you a variety of examples and do them a little bit more quickly. Okay, that's the end of this video.